Hey, it's Amy from The Bobby Bones Show, and we are back yet again for another week of the Love What Matters podcast. I just want to say thank you to people that are listening to the podcast and making it a part of their weekly routine. Every Wednesday, we load up a new set of stories and interviews. So if you're wondering if you've subscribed, like how often you'll see something come in, it should be Tuesday at midnight, right? Yeah. So every Wednesday, Tuesday at midnight, in case you're still up, I guess you could get an early start. But we've got some great stories for you today and an awesome interview from a woman that is literally about to donate her kidney to her brother-in-law, which I started to think like, I get it. If a family member needed a kidney, I would likely give it to a family member. But, you even hear stories of people that give their kidney to complete strangers. Now, this is her brother-in-law, so it's not like her brother, but still, I mean, you're like giving away one of your vital organs. So I'm just super excited to talk to her and see how she came to the conclusion to do it. And, if it was easy or she had to think about it for a long time. And then, if she's kind of nervous about the upcoming surgery. So we'll have that coming up for you along with some great stories. But this podcast would not be possible without Episole. So if you haven't heard of them, it's basically professional grade hair color, but delivered straight to your door. So you can still do it at home. Maybe you color your hair in between your hair appointments, or you always like to color your hair at home, or you're finally noticing gray hairs like I am, and I have to pluck them out, and you're like, oh, might be time for some hair color. Well, Episole, they're for you, and I'll tell you more about that a little bit later and how you can actually save some money on it as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started with today's podcast.
Yeah, don't you want to spread a little love in the world today?
Okay, so before we get into the good news stories of the day, I thought we would kind of talk about good news versus bad news and which we should receive first, because this came up on the morning show that I'm on, and we were talking about it, and it was like, okay, do you always want the good news or the bad news? When people come up to you, you're like, you want the good news or the bad news first? Well, apparently, I don't really have the study in front of me or anything, so I'm going to be paraphrasing, but we should always receive the good news first, because then it will make the bad news not seem as bad. So I would like to say that by listening to this podcast, you're doing yourself a favor for anything bad that might come your way today or after this podcast. So, and we've got like 1, 2, 3 great stories and a great interview. So that's like 4 feel-good stories that should combat any bad news that you get today. So if anyone ever asks you want the good news or the bad news first, always go good. So let's start with this first story. And I'll just let you guys know that one of our favorite things here at Love What Matters is to watch the impact of the stories that we share with you, because this story was shared over 500,000 times. Yeah, 500,000 times on the Love What Matters Facebook page. That's a lot. In case you're wondering, that's a lot. More importantly, thousands of you wrote us notes on how this story inspired you and you began using this idea in your daily life. So here's the original post by Amy Verter. She wrote, "This is what me and my daughter have started doing. We're keeping a blessing bag in our car in case we find someone in need. You can make these up with items from the Dollar Tree, such as gloves, thermal socks, beef sticks, crackers, candy bars, toothpaste, toothbrush, wipes, deodorant, snacks, and other items that may help someone who is homeless or kind of in a bad way. It is just a thoughtful, inspiring thing to do. This is something we're going to start doing from now on. Thank you to the ones that did this long before us for being such a giving, loving, and caring person." Okay, so that's pretty awesome that Amy shared that. But the story gets even better, because many fans of Love What Matters, they started doing this themselves, which is amazing. But now an entire charity has sprung up from this one story. They're called Mission Dogs, and they're distributing goodness bags to the less fortunate in Greater Atlanta. And when it comes to the homeless, there is a real need in the Greater Atlanta area. You can visit their You Caring fundraiser page at goodnessbags.com to get involved and help them and others. Your donation will go towards providing goodness bags for those who are less fortunate. Again, that's goodnessbags.com. You can spread a little love with us today by checking that out. But seriously, this is just one example of how you post a story on our Facebook page. It's like a domino effect. Good just keeps happening and happening and happening.
Yeah, don't you want to spread a little love in in a world today.
So this next story is pretty amazing. And I assume as a police officer, I mean, when you get called to the scene of something, you just never, ever know what you're going to be faced with. Don't know what to expect at all. So when Officer Kenneth Knox arrived at a call that he got, he found a desperate family and a 2-month-old baby girl choking. Yeah, 2 months old. So like, not just saying like, oh, baby girl, like this is a legit baby. So here's what Officer Knox wrote on our Love What Matters Facebook page. He said, I would like to take the time to introduce everyone to Miss Parham. She is a 2-month-old, beautiful baby girl. Last night, I was dispatched to a residence to a child choking. It was this beautiful little princess. She was turning blue and fading fast. Mom and Dad tried CPR with no luck, and when I arrived, she was not breathing. I did reverse CPR and was able to suck the cereal out of her throat, and she began to breathe again. She smiled at me for a second and then started crying, which was music to my ears. Out of my 25 years being a cop, this is my greatest and most profound accomplishment and made every second of those 25 years worth it all. I am forever humbled and changed by this. Little Miss Parham will forever be a part of my life. Now get this. She really will forever be a part of his life, because a follow-up to this story is that the family reached out to Officer Knox and asked him if he wanted to be the godfather of their baby. So it's pretty amazing. And he, of course, accepted and said that he will always watch over her. And I just think, I mean, you get a call and then you save a life, and the next thing you know, it's your god baby. Okay, so when you're at the grocery store and you're getting hair color and you see the different colors on the box, I mean, how do you really know that that is the color for you? Well, you don't. That's why you need to check out Esalon, where they offer professional grade, completely personalized hair color created just for you and delivered right to your door. So it is in between. You're not going to the salon, but you're not going to the grocery store. And what you do, and why it's made just for you, is you fill out a questionnaire, you upload your photo, and a personal colorist formulates your color from over 15,000 pigments. So it really is a unique color that's going to look great on you. And when it's delivered to your door, it even has your name on it. So boom, proof right there. It's unique just for you. And it's got instructions on how to get the hair just the way you want it. And then if you've got more questions, the hair color experts at Esalon, they're right there for you. They're just a call away. So visit esalon.com/love now, because new customers get 50% off their first box. That's just $10 for your personalized hair color. 50% off your first box at esalon.com/love. That's esalon.com/love.
Spread a little love. Spread a little love. Spread a little love in the world today.
Okay, so before we get to our interview with the woman that's donating her kidney, we're going to talk about an awesome high school student, a high school senior that deserves a shout out. Contagious driver, like he did something pretty cool. So he's in the car with his aunt and they're at the dollar store, Dollar General or something like that, and they're about to drive away. Then he notices this elderly woman that's pulled up to the store, but then she can't get out of her car, like she's really struggling. So what does he do? He hops out of the car, goes over, grabs her, and he's like, hey, what do you need from inside the store? I got you. I'll take you in there. So then he walks her into the Dollar General. They get what she needs. Then he walks out with her, makes sure she gets back into her car, and, is able to continue on her way. But she really was struggling. And this is something he just observed. Like, I don't know, in high school, I don't know that I would have picked up on that. I probably would have been just consumed with what I had going on and driven off. But Contagious' aunt, she happened to be in the car with him. So she caught like all of this on camera, and it brought tears to her eyes because she was like, that's my nephew. Like, I can't believe he's doing this. And what's crazy is that Contagious said that he even saw adults, like other people, like just standing around doing nothing, like not helping her. So he felt the need to just go do it. It really wasn't that big of a deal. It was just kind of a good deed, he said. So shout out to Contagious driver for being an awesome teenager. I guess just an awesome human at that, because he helped this 81-year-old woman when she needed it. I bet she won't ever forget that. Okay, so now It's interview time. We knocked out the other stories, and this is, I think, from what we hear, interviews are something that you guys are really liking, and I'm super excited to talk to Kelly, and I'm pretty sure we have her on the phone now, so let's check and see. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Amy.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Well, I'm super excited to talk to you about what is to come for you and your brother-in-law, right? It's your brother-in-law.
Yes, my brother-in-law. His name is Joe Anderson.
Okay, so tell us how you decided to donate a kidney to him.
Well, I've been around him for 12 years. I met his brother 12 years ago. We had a little boy. He's 11 now. And he's just family. And about 4 or 5 years ago, he found out that his kidneys were failing. And he was going to need a kidney transplant eventually. So they started putting him on home dialysis. He's been doing that for 4 years, and he's been on the kidney transplant list in Houston for 4 years as well.
Oh, wow.
He was doing well for a couple of years doing that at home, but within the last year, he's really gone downhill, and they've had to make it to where they put his kidney port up higher in the neck, and doing that, he would have to come into Beaumont every day because we live an hour from Beaumont, that's closer, and have his dialysis done several times a week because the home kidney dialysis was just not working anymore. His kidneys are functioning at 2% as of now.
How did you decide you wanted to get tested to see if you would be a fit?
Well, I was the third person that came forward and said, let me do this for you. But the second person was his now wife, and she went through all the tests and got to the very end, and they said, you can't do this. Your kidneys are not functioning as much as we need them to be as well. So she's going to have kidney problems in the future, possibly.
Oh, no.
But she never knew she had any problems up until the doctors told her. So I had asked him a couple of years ago if I could, try and test. And he said no because y'all have a little boy, and I don't want you to do that. And I said, well, God blesses people, and I wholeheartedly feel that way. So I don't feel that, God's going to punish me in any way for doing something good. And he kept pushing me off, telling me, no, I might have someone else, no, don't do that. Well, then it got to this year to where his kidneys were down to 2%, and he's looking really bad and doing bad. He can't work anymore, and he came and asked me, he says, do you still want to do that? And I said, of course. And we had talked earlier in the past years about he and I both being the same blood type, and we're both O positive, and I had done some research, and O positive people can give blood or organs to pretty much anyone, but we can't receive them from just anyone. It has to be another O positive person.
Right, yeah.
So that's how it came about, and I knew all along in my heart I was going to be the one to give it to him because it just seemed like the answer.
Right.
A lot of people have been asking me if I'm nervous, and I said, no, not at all. I'm completely at ease with it because, like I said, whenever something is right and meant to be, you're not going to be nervous about it,
Obviously, when you know, and you are pretty strong in how you feel about it. And I have goosebumps just even hearing you talk about knowing, because it just must be one of those feelings where you're just at peace with it. It just makes sense to you, and it's going to now be a part of your life story.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's funny because this weekend I had taken my little boy to a fall festival at one of the local churches in Village Mills, and I just met the preacher there when we went, and because we were visiting with someone that invited us to come and do the hayride and all that good stuff with the kids. And the preacher walked up to me, and he introduced himself, and he just leaned over and whispered in my ear. He said, no good thing goes unnoticed by God. And he turned around and walked away, and I thought to myself, oh, that is wonderful. That is, he's right on, with that, because I'm not, worried about my husband or my son, or if this happens or if that happens, because I know it's not. I just feel like God doesn't, put you in a position like this for his, good works to go unnoticed. And I know as soon as he, gets his kidney transplant, he will immediately start looking better, feeling better, and functioning, because as of now, he can barely get around, and he's only 49 years old.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. So, y'all, I know that y'all are probably you're just looking forward to the surgery date. When is the surgery, by the way?
We should know this Friday because the board meets every Thursday, and Joe is finishing up all of his tests to make sure he is in good enough health to withstand the surgery. So he's finishing that up yesterday and today, and all the tests should be in Houston by Thursday, or hopefully before Thursday, because that's when the board meets. And then they'll call us up that evening or Friday and say, okay, we have these dates available, and then we can choose what day that we want to have the surgery.
Oh, well, Kelly, I'm going to be praying for you guys, and I just think it's amazing what you're doing, and you're a hero, period. So I know that's not something you're looking to hear or looking for, but also I hope that others listening to your story, may be inspired to, if they even have felt a nudge to maybe go get tested and see if they're a match. I mean, because you hear of strangers giving kidneys to people. Have you ever heard that story of, this person needed a kidney, and so they were pretty desperate. Like you said, it's hard to get a kidney, and they kiwied their car. They kind of just said, in need of a kidney, I think is probably just a last-ditch effort. And someone driving down the road saw the car with the kiwi, like, I need a kidney. And they were like, you know what? I'm going to see if I'm a match. I think I want to give that person a kidney. And they were a match, and they donated their kidney. I mean, so there's that. And then, there's stories like yours where it's a loved one, it's a family member, it's someone you care about. And anyway, I find you to be an incredible person. And I know that it's going to all work out. I'm going to definitely keep in touch. So I want to kind of follow your journey.
All talking about is really helping to get the word out that, you know what, you have to. The way I look at it is you have a spare. You have a spare organ. You have two of them, and if someone needs it, why not? I mean, because the recovery time for the person that's giving is you're only going to be in the hospital 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And they said, nowadays they don't cut you, from side to side. They just they just make these very, very small incisions on the side, and they take the kidney out, and then they make they clip it, and then it falls down, and then right at your bikini line is where they actually put like a little spoon in there and catch it and pull it out. And then, so it's very minimum. It's very minimum as far as the surgery goes. And the recovery time, you're only in the hospital a couple of days, pending, you don't have any complications, which I can guarantee you that Herman Memorial puts you through so many tests to make sure you are healthy one way or the other. And I was glad to hear that. I'm glad, I got a free exam for everything, from head to toe. So I'm glad to hear I'm great.
That's a good way to look at it for sure. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on with us and just sharing a little bit of your story. And again, like I said, we're going to keep in touch and just follow up and make sure everything goes as expected, which sounds like it will. And I'll email you soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Amy.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly. Bye.
Yeah, don't you want to spread a little love in the world today?